Obviously, in all of these Asian countries, local people prefer local food, whether it's Indonesian food or Filipino food or Japanese food. Clearly, local food is the most popular. But outside of Japan, Japanese food reigns supreme. And I think the reason for this is, one, the love of Japanese culture overall, and two, the image that Japanese food has of kind of a very healthy, fresh kind of cuisine. But the interesting thing about Japanese food is that while Japanese food is so popular, the majority of the chains which have been developed in Asia Pacific are not by Japanese companies. They're actually by local entrepreneurs that have developed Japanese concepts. They've gone to Japan, they've basically copied Japanese ideas and brought them back to their local countries. Let's take the example of Indonesia. Indonesians love Japanese food. And if you go into most of the malls in Indonesia, they're very, very dominated by local Indonesian concepts. And in the food court, you notice a concept called Hoka Hoka Bento. Hoka Hoka Bento has over 200 stores throughout Indonesia. And it's really a copy of the Japanese-style bento box concepts from Japan. But it's a very good example that the Japanese bento box concepts have not penetrated a market the size of Indonesia, that left the opportunity for the local entrepreneur to develop a copycat concept and be very successful with it. In the Philippines, you've got kind of economical full-service or fast food restaurants like Teriyaki Boy or Tokyo, which are very popular with local consumers, but the actual Japanese concepts are nowhere to be seen. And in China, for example, you've got a concept like Dayu Teppanyaki, which is extremely popular, but at the same time, the Japanese concepts themselves from Japan have been less successful. Probably the most successful Japanese concept overseas is Yoshinoya. And Yoshinoya is an inexpensive beef bowl concept for about $2 or $3. But for the Asian markets, they've pretty much adjusted it into a fast food environment. So you go to a Yoshinoya in China, and essentially you see something that looks like a McDonald's or KFC. But overall, the primary reason that Japanese restaurant chains from Japan have not been successful overseas is really due to the insular nature of Japanese management and the fact that they're just not as good salesmen as Americans are for their own concepts. So in summary, nobody knows really how big Japanese restaurant chain size is in Asia Pacific. It's huge. It continues to grow. It's dominated by local entrepreneurs. But there's a lot of opportunity for Japanese food concepts from Japan if they really start focusing on the overseas markets and really looking and trying to find good partners and being reasonable with terms and conditions. If they do all that, there's no reason why tempura, why tonkatsu, why unagi, why other types of Japanese cuisine cannot develop. And as I always say, it's not all sushi.